Hi, it's Sujean, and welcome to Alchemy Social. I am fascinated by members clubs, and they have definitely been having a moment. Just in New York City alone in the past few years, there have been so many openings it's hard to keep track. Maxime's, Chez Margot, Casa Cipriani, San Vicente, Zero Bond, and the expansion of Soho House, just to name a few. They all deliver beautiful spaces, the promise of exclusivity, and curated crowds you can eat and drink with. But are they actually delivering community? Also, what happens if you take away the alcohol and focus purely on connection? I am very excited about my conversation today because my guest, Justin Gurland, is attempting to do exactly that. He's the founder of The Maze, New York's first ever alcohol-free members club, which just opened last November. It's elegantly designed. He's partnered with Tom Colicchio to oversee all the food and beverage, and the club offers different programming almost every night of the week. Justin also has a remarkable personal story. He's very transparent about the fact that he used to be a full-blown heroin addict, even traveling with needles, until he decided to turn his life around. He's now been sober for nearly 2 decades, during which he dedicated most of his career to being a licensed social worker and therapist. Today, he has started The Maze after realizing that one of the most powerful paths to healing was finding community. So today we talk about why he chose the membership model as his path forward, the most surprising aspects of building a community like this in a place like New York, and what actually happens when you take alcohol out of a room filled with people who want to socialize. I'm Sujean, and I am so glad you're here because the Alchemy Social podcast is all about the people and brands building community. So hit subscribe, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. Justin Gurland, I am so excited you're here. So welcome to Alchemy Social.
Thank you.
We're in New York City, the city that never sleeps, the 24-hour energy, and a lot of that energy is spent on nightlife and partying, which often involves alcohol. And in this craziness and in this landscape, you just opened up the first ever completely alcohol-free members club. A huge feat, a bold feat, so huge congratulations.
Thank you.
Why is it so important to you to build this community and to have opened this community space?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I sometimes feel like I don't give myself credit. Not that I'm really trying to do that right now, but like that we're noticed in that way is really important to me. I think this conversation really goes back about 18 years ago when I first got sober. I got sober in January of 2008. I was 25 years old.
Wow.
And I was at this weird, I'd been out of college for 3 years or whatever at that point and restarting my life in many ways. And when I say restarting, I mean like restarting. New friends, new social life, new career, new everything. I was in a position where I had that opportunity where I was just like starting kind of fresh, and it was weird. At the time, it wasn't so exciting. It was really scary and weird. Let me say the landscape of recovery, sobriety, the alcohol-free world was very, very different then. It was almost closeted, I guess you could say. It was a different vibe. It wasn't something loud and proud the way that it became, which leads in many ways to what The Maze really is.
Right. It was churches, basements, diners, coffee shops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's ironic because in the recovery community, it's the only place in the world where like you can completely screw up your life and then walk into a room and get an applause.
Yeah.
You know, which is kind of a beautiful thing in many ways.
Yeah.
No one's coming into recovery on a winning streak. You got to hit some major bumps in the road, if not a full bottom, in order to say like, I got to make some crazy changes like this. And so over time, as I'm rebuilding my life, I'm making new friends and learning how to just be a regular person living in New York City, I started to realize, like, why isn't there the place to go? There's a good amount of us. On this, on the outside, everything is kind of normal because I started making these really good friends. Because I had lost contact with my college friends. High school's a long time gone. I didn't know a single sober person before I got sober. Everything was brand new, which also was, in thinking about it that way, I didn't know what life was going to be like. Then all of a sudden I'm starting from scratch and making these friends, and we made it work. We're going out, we're doing things, we're staying out late. Sometimes it's sitting in the diner.
Or K-Town. You could have gone to K-Town.
Yeah. Back then, back then it was a lot of places. It was it really was the city that didn't sleep. But there was never the place. And then I got a master's degree in social work, and I started a career in the recovery/addiction space. And what happened was I had this almost parallel life of like my personal journey of recovery and my professional. And I knew it was true for myself. Then all of a sudden I'm exposed to people that I'm helping. And of the many things I saw, one thing in particular was true, which was people that rebuilt their communities did better than people that didn't. People that made friends that were on the same path as them, or made connections and contacts that are on the same path as them, did better than people that didn't. And the people that didn't, maybe they're isolating, maybe they're still trying to hang out with their old friends or pretending like this didn't really exist. And as a result, these really beautiful, really tight-knit communities are being born. And
these are your patients or people you were counseling
yes.
in social work.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. It's also my personal life too. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting because it was kind of all happening at the same time, because I was seeing it in my day-to-day, in my real life, and then I was seeing it in my professional life too. And so I did that for about 15 years.
Oh.
And a few years ago, I transitioned out of that. I was getting pretty burnt out. And that idea of like, why doesn't it exist? With everything the city has to offer, why don't we have that just place for people like me, those of us that don't drink, do drugs, et cetera, a place to go? And I think I just said, what if we just built it? What if we just created the place? And it started with some simple conversations. And amazingly, like, things just started falling into place.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's just like, oh my God, this is really happening. This is here.
Yeah.
And we created the maze.
Incredible. So going back, I've listened to you talk about your story. You were a very serious addict.
Yeah.
You took the very incredible move to completely change your life and clean up your life and get sober. And I've heard you say that actually one of the other lowest points in your life was actually once you went through all of the difficulty of rehab and recovery and actually got sober. I think you were saying like a couple of years or 3 years into sobriety. It's not even because you were craving the substances. What happened then? Like, what happened in that sort of you're clean, but you're miserable phase?
So in recovery, we have this phrase called the pink cloud, which is this, everything's great. Every day is great. Sun's always shining. Everything's beautiful. And it's relatively ubiquitous with people that get sober. It's very common, I should say. I remember, because I used to travel with drugs all the time because I was an addict. Like I couldn't go anywhere without my drugs.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I was getting on an airplane, going through security with nothing to hide. And I was like, oh my God. I forgot what this feels like. This is what everybody, this is what most people feel like. Or I got pulled over once and I was like, search the car. I got nothing to hide. So
That's crazy. Because until then, flights were just like anxiety filled because you thought
I don't think I lost the anxiety till like the trip was over and I got back home and I was like, okay, now I can breathe.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I would have these experiences where just like, oh, it's such a relief. I've got nothing to hide.
Yeah.
I'm not living this like bullshit life.
Yeah.
I'm an open book. And then at some point, it wasn't like one moment. It was just like, I think I was like, I'm bored. I'm just fucking bored. Like what is like, what's the point of this? Like I kind of, because for those few years after college and I was using, I was alone a lot of the time. I was very isolated. my family was very much in my life, but kind of at like arm's length, just so like they wouldn't be, you know, I had a system so that people weren't worried about me, but like I was alone a lot of the time. That's where I wanted to be. I was perfectly comfortable. Now I'm sober, and the initial jolt of the sober life, it kind of ended because I had a lot of attention on me for a while. Because everyone was worried and,
Right.
you know, and I was like, shit, I think I'm lonely. And I'm bored. And I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to get high. I knew I couldn't. Like, it wasn't really an option certainly wasn't an option for me. It wasn't even a desire. And that's when I think I finally learned that recovery is not just removing the substance. Recovery is a different type of lifestyle. And despite being probably taught that in the early days, I never embraced it.
Yeah.
And that's when things started to shift. And that was about 3 years in.
Wow. At that time, had the solution of community, if that's, I would say, one of the most powerful solutions that you've really laser focused in on, had that kind of risen to the surface as like the antidote, or were you more like, what was the chapter before community became the solution? Because it does seem to be the solution now.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's a part of it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things that I keep very much prioritized in my life. I think that all work in conjunction.
Yeah.
But the word community, I don't think I was familiar with that word. I mean, on an intellectual level, of course I was, but I didn't know. In that time, I didn't know. Looking back, it was sure, yes, that was the answer.
Yeah.
Started with a phone call to a sober friend that I probably hadn't spoken to in a while, but like I knew I had his number. And then he just kind of reintroduced the recovery ideals to me.
Yeah.
And I was finally ready to listen.
Yeah. What's so interesting to me is that on the surface, one could think, oh, Justin is such an inspiring story, but the story is very specific. It's very niche. So, for example, for me, who has not necessarily struggled with addiction, you could say, well, I could applaud your story, but there's nothing necessarily like applicable. What I think is so interesting, though, is how incredibly applicable it is really for anyone who has hit any kind of rock bottom. And what I mean is that I think if you have had any kind of serious moment in your life where you felt like you were like really struggling and really alone, which can be the byproduct of anything, addiction. It could also be some career failure or loss, grief, breakups. It's like in these moments of rock bottom, you don't know what to go, you don't know what to do. And I think a lot of the problem is that you feel so isolated, which is why any kind of beginnings toward like embracing a community is kind of like a big step towards getting yourself out of whatever rock bottom you're at.
I'd agree with that. I think when I hear that, it's just like, well, where are you finding people? Because I'm not the kind of guy who's going to go to a run club, you know, or I'm just not.
Actually, I'm gonna try that. I'm adding that to
I have no judgment against it. I know myself.
Yeah.
You know, in an age where we're all seemingly connected, social media and phones, which is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
You know, the phone addiction, screen stuff is real.
Yeah.
And we fool ourselves into thinking that we're connected because we are looking at other people's pictures or whatever. We know what's going on in other people's lives. Where are you actually having that connection? And that was a big driver for building this. Yes, we're alcohol free, and ideally our community is based on people who choose an alcohol free lifestyle. So there is that foundation in many ways, but we're inclusive once you're in the door.
Yeah.
And we have no air of elitism, which I think a lot of clubs kind of do.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, whatever you're going through and you just want to find some people and we're an option for you, that's a win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huge win.
The interesting thing is a lot of people get to thinking about members clubs from the lens of, say, hospitality or even like brand marketing, kind of that career track. You had spent about 15 years in the field of behavioral science. You're a licensed social worker. You've done counseling and therapy to help people through addiction. Why land on a members club specifically?
Well, it went through a couple different iterations.
Yeah.
The first thought I had was a coffee shop.
Yeah.
I love coffee, of course, we all do. So I'm like, okay, what if we're not branded as like the sober recovery place, but it's if you know, you know. And then I was like, well, if you have a regular coffee shop, anybody can come and go. And I don't know if we're going to build the community that we want. More importantly, it seems like a lot of cups of coffee to sell to like make it look like the image of what I want this place to look like.
It is. That's a lot of volume you have to sustain.
Yeah. I thought that a members club would, on the business side, of course, there's revenue from the membership, which is not insignificant, in terms of how we can sustain this as we grow. But also with the membership model, we can curate the community and limit it to a degree to people that really want to be there. So we have an application process, we have an interview process, and we're really understanding who's going to be an active member. I know plenty of people who join members clubs and they just keep the membership because, well, it was such a pain going through the process. I don't want to lose it. I'll just keep paying the dues whether I go or not.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always going to be that stuff. How many people have gym memberships and just don't go?
Yeah.
Or they sign up in January and, with the hopes that it's going to be a new year, new me.
Yeah.
And they don't go. That's what we deal with memberships in general. Fine. But really knowing who's going to be an active member and also having the ability to understand them before they come in the door. So when we have an event that we know someone's going to be interested in, we can reach out. Hey, we have a comedy show tonight. I know you mentioned this in our interview that it's a passion of yours. You should come.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as a result, we've grown this really beautiful community. And not everybody has the same relationship with alcohol.
Right.
So what happened amazingly too, right like in front of my eyes without even realizing it, is this whole world of an alcohol-free movement was happening. Mm-hmm. People are not drinking for various reasons, not just former degenerates like myself.
Yeah.
People that are health conscious, wellness conscious. Dry January, which is a huge movement. People stop drinking for the month. They love the way they feel. They keep it going.
Yeah.
So now we have about a third of our members that are in recovery. We have about a third that are in that wellness, health conscious, life choice.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a third, those are, estimates, that don't consider themselves alcohol free because maybe they'll drink at a wedding.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll drink whatever, randomly. And they're honest about it, but this is the community that they want to be a part of. This is the people they want to be a part of.
Wow.
And so we have a really cool mix of people as a result.
Yeah. It's so funny because I do think that that's like such an interesting distinction. You have a lot of gyms, like most gyms will probably be like, we'll love you if you never come.
Sure.
You just pay, you're on auto pay, they're getting the revenue, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's interesting that an aspect of your business that is so different is that the magic only happens if people show up.
Yeah.
It's a different value prop that you're offering. And it's almost like the experience is only as good as people showing up and like being active members of the community, which is kind of a nice thing.
You're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
My issue with a lot of members clubs that I've noticed is that you go with who you go with and you leave with who you go with.
Yeah.
And how much you're extending outside of that group is, in my observation, which is not a huge sample size, is somewhat limited. Mm. And so we have events almost every night, if not, several times a week.
Wow.
And that's really what's driving our community because we have a full restaurant. It's overseen by Tom Colicchio and Crafted Hospitality. So our restaurant is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So a random Thursday night, we might have a decent amount of reservations, but our backgammon night on a Thursday night will be sold out.
Yeah.
Because people want to come when they know other people are going to be there. It's like the anti-members club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because people are going to show up when they know there's a crowd there.
Right.
Sure, there's people that want to just come with their friends and have dinner, play pool, watch the game. We love that too, of course.
Because the whole point is to connect with the other people and have a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're really creative with our programming and our ideas, and we have a huge range. Our youngest member is 24. Our oldest is 65.
Wow.
So we try to, we kind of cluster in the 30s as our median, but we try to have events that is fun for the whole family with our whole range.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned Tom Colicchio. It's incredible. He's like one of the most well-known celebrity chefs in the country, of Top Chef fame and Craft and several other very, very celebrated restaurants in New York and across the country. It's an incredible collaboration. So he's your hospitality partner. Basically, he oversees all of food and beverage, right, for the Maze?
Yeah. Yep.
Why partner with him, and what does that mean for the members?
I'm passionate about community building.
Yeah.
So I knew that my skill set and the team that we had assembled was going to handle the membership side of things really, really well.
Mm.
Food and bev is its own beast. And it's not like you're just going to figure it out. And so we engaged with almost like a restaurant broker. They give us a list of 10 to 15 potential operators. And none of them were household names. Great, unbelievable resumes, serious experience. And we were this close to signing with one of them. I love these guys.
Yeah.
It was just a really good team. We clicked. We were about to sign. And Todd, my dear friend Todd, called and he goes, Tom Colicchio is really interested in this project. And I was like, dude, stop. What do you mean? And sure enough, he was. And we met and we hit it off and we just kind of made it happen.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's amazing. He's very well known. He's one of the best. And he's also humble.
Yeah.
And his team is second to none. And so they stepped in.
He's not sober.
He's not, but that didn't even come up originally.
Interesting.
He believed in the concept.
Yeah.
He got it. We didn't even talk about it. He's very wellness focused. He's very intentional with food as medicine.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big picture kind of guy, despite all of his success.
Yeah.
And so there's a wellness component I think he brought to the table just naturally.
It's like one of these things where even if as an entrepreneur and founder, you have a vision, there are certain things that wouldn't even, like you did not set out to start a members club with Tom Colicchio as your hospitality partner.
No, I didn't. I can admit I didn't know that was a thing.
That's amazing. Okay. So he is your food and beverage partner, which means that his team is overseeing breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the club. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned programming being a huge part of the draw. What kinds of things are you offering members and what's popular?
Our community loves the community events. Trivia is very popular. Backgammon is very popular. We had a comedy night recently that was a huge success. We have speakers come in to tell their story. A lot of times it's the stuff that there's not, when there's speakers in the front of the room, it's somewhat hit or miss because people want to communicate. They want to talk. They want this. They don't want to sit and listen to a talking head.
So if you're just there solo listening to something and then have to leave, it's maybe not as rewarding.
Right. And so what we did to shift that is that if we ever have it, we had this amazing speaker, this guy, Charlie Engel. He's this insane endurance athlete. Yeah. And he's about to go on this journey from the Dead Sea, the lowest point on earth, to Everest, the highest. Sober, told the whole story. So what we did for that is that we had everybody come in early so that we can hang out and eat and chill. Then he does his talk and then everybody stayed after. So we really try to combine all aspects so that there is a social component.
The other thing the thought that comes to mind then is just when you create a space within which not everyone knows each other going in, you're creating more kind of surface area for the unexpected interactions that can lead who knows where, which is probably why you want to show up, just to have that serendipitous type of exchange. Have you seen people become friends?
Yeah, there's relationships, people that are dating.
Yeah.
There's a group of guys, for example, that they call themselves the pool boys. You'd think they've been friends their whole lives.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
There's a couple people with decent social media followings that have opened up. So one person in particular runs a women's group weekly. Why
do you think that kind of thing would happen more at, say, a members club as opposed to maybe a coffee shop?
I guess it's just the intentionality of really being invited to a place.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people are going to go to a meetup. But something about the membership model where you're there for that specific reason and you know that everybody else is for that. It just changes the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Just enough where it's, you're here for the same reason that I'm here.
Yes. And I think that's so powerful. It's also, I think, layer onto that, just like the high frequency So at a coffee shop, at any given time, you may never, ever have those same people at that coffee shop ever again. Because it's like literally atoms in the universe. Just like some people are just like there for that one day. They're never going back to that coffee shop ever again. And the members club, at least maybe it's not every week, but maybe like once a month, you kind of see the same faces.
I was watching the Steven Spielberg interview, and I love him, of course.
Yeah.
I'm a movie person, but he was talking about his desire to ensure that people go to theaters to watch movies. Something amazing that happens in the theater is that when you're there, despite your political views, social status, or economic tax bracket, you're all in that window of time. You're all the same. You're all there for that one reason. And I feel there's an analogy between that and what we do in many ways. You're there for the same reason. Now, some people might be there because they want to find a partner, and this is opening up a whole new dating pool rather than an app. But when you're there, it's almost like everyone's there for the same reason.
Yeah.
And building community is really what it's all about for us. We are alcohol free, and we're a safe space, and we take that very, very seriously. It's almost like it can be an afterthought in many ways too. You don't even notice.
Because you're just having fun together.
You're just there, but you're really there.
Yeah.
Like you're really making a deep connection. You're having a real conversation. There's no distraction. There's no baloney, whatever. There's something, really just powerful about that.
Yeah, amazing. Because as you say, that's everyone's intention. That's what they're wanting to get out of it. So that's what they show up with.
Yeah. Even though everybody there is in a different journey in their life, with booze, with drugs, whatever, we're still creating community with like some commonality.
Right.
Tell you a quick story. Just an early application that we got was, so we have the first question is, are you alcohol free? And we assumed before, as we're creating the application, if someone says no, it's going to go in a separate pile. We'll get to it later. We'll check it out, whatever. But
it's not an automatic rejection, but it's an unlikely, are you saying?
Yeah, like that's what we thought at the time.
Okay.
Like it would be maybe in the B list or whatever.
Right.
But we did the call, we look at the application. Of course, the first question as we do, it's an interview, but it's really just, just to get to know you kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the first question, of course, is, why do you want to join an alcohol-free club if you're not alcohol-free? And what this woman said that I feel like changed the trajectory of everything was so powerful. She said, I've been trying to not drink for years, but I don't know where to go or who to hang out with. And so I end up going out with my old friends, and I'm either awkwardly standing there with a seltzer or Diet Coke, and I don't know how to talk to people because everybody else is getting hammered, or I drink. And I don't want to. And to have a place where I can go and be myself and everybody else is kind of doing the same thing, that's why I want to join. And I was like, how many more people are there out there like this that are having that same experience? And now, as opposed to 18 years ago when I got sober, it's cool.
Yeah.
Brands are putting billions of dollars behind alcohol-free options, and they're actually good, Back then, it was Diet Coke, which, no issues, of course, big supporter. And there was nothing really else.
Yeah.
Now we have alcohol-free wine.
Yeah.
So people can come and they can drink their wine, they can cheers, they can feel like they're, still have some normalcy, whatever that means.
Yeah. I'm curious, what has been the hardest thing about bringing this online?
I think the hardest thing has been there's no playbook. It's new. It's really new. So every day is a new adventure. It's a whole new thing. So there are days when it's, feels a little slow, and what do we need to do to get people in the space?
Yeah.
I would say there's no guidelines necessarily.
Yeah. It's funny because I think that, speaking of community, one of the things that I have really appreciated in the last couple of years is when I started my own entrepreneurial journey. There's a very unofficial community that I'm starting to develop, which is just people who are doing things that they've never done before. Because that in and of itself is a special bond.
Sure.
I am completely empathize. I had never done podcasts. Like I had never used, video editing software. And it's just like, there are all these resources, but if you're doing it for the first time, it's insanely hard and frustrating and lonely in every way. And so I can totally relate to you on that.
Yeah, I think that's why groups like YPO and other founders groups are incredibly valuable and important.
Yeah.
Because it can be lonely and it can be confusing.
Yeah.
I'm someone that believes that we cross paths with people for a reason, whether it's the person you sat next to on the subway or someone, that you get to have an intimate conversation with and everything in between.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that any of this stuff happens by accident.
Yeah.
And so if we're bringing people together that may not have met otherwise, possibilities are endless.
Yeah. Amazing. So what are you most excited about for what's next for the Maze?
I am most excited about seeing where this community can go.
Yeah.
I want to be in other cities. I've been sober for 18 years, so I've gotten to travel quite a bit and experience recovery in other cities. And it's incredible. I've run into people in Italy that I knew from New York, from the recovery world, just, randomly, so we're there's that deep connection. And if we can make a sort of adjacent community to that, where, if you run into a Maze member in London, that you're automatically connected even if you've never met.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm excited about, is really seeing the ripple effect of what we do, because every city's got its own heartbeat and rhythm. I'm a spiritual person, and, I think I'll know when the time is right, or the opportunity will just present itself.
Yeah.
But I want to nail New York.
Amazing.
So that gives me energy. I'll give you a perfect example. We have two members. They're a couple. They're getting married next month. They join together.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're regulars. They're there all the time. They're amazing people. They live nearby, so they'll stop on their way from the subway. They'll stop in to hang out before they go home.
Yeah.
They're very involved. And so they pulled me aside a couple of weeks ago. So they're getting married in the city, and they named every table at the wedding for things that are important to them: the name of their building, the name of the restaurant they had their first date, and they named the table the Maze.
Oh.
Yeah, it blew me away. It was incredible. And so when I think about that, it revives my hope in certainly the project and the whole, macro world of it. Like, that means something to me.
Yeah. Wow. I actually wonder if, in a way, it's easier to develop closer bonds in this environment versus, say, a members club where there is alcohol.
100%. I think so. It's funny. We had an opening night party.
Yeah.
Of course, there was no alcohol being served. And I was watching some of the people that were there that are drinkers normally feeling uncomfortable because they don't have that social lubricant or whatever. It was actually pretty cool. So I do think that the connection, it's more real. You're waking up the next morning, you're remembering everything that happened the night before. It's not like, wait, whose number did I get?
But so without the social lubricant, though, is it not the case that it's a little bit harder or a little bit more awkward to connect or
maybe
have fun?
I would have fun. I will challenge that one always.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it maybe a little bit more awkward at first? By comparison, sure. But when you're drinking, is someone really seeing your true self?
Right.
I don't know.
That's really interesting.
In my observation, both, as the proprietor of the place and observing what's going on, but also in my personal life, there is a real connection.
So if you're talking to someone who shows up and is saying, I want to start a company, I want to start a brand, and just generally, it's important to me to start building community, what's the first thing you would suggest they do?
Probably build a team. People that you can trust, rely on.
Yeah.
Bounce ideas off of, cry with.
And what about for someone who comes to you and is just feeling really lonely and is actually looking to become part of a community? What advice would you give them other than join the Maze?
You knew what I was going to say. I would just ask a series of questions. Yeah. I would just start with what brings you joy? What makes you laugh?
Yeah.
Laughter is the best medicine. That's the ultimate truth. So being in a situation around people that are going to like bring you that kind of joy. And then maybe working backwards from that.
Yeah, I feel like it's also like, I think the other part of finding your people and cultivating your own personal community also takes work.
For sure.
And I think it's easy to let yourself, because I've done this also just in my own life, to let that slip and be like, well, it should come to me.
Yeah.
And if I'm feeling lonely, then it's like everyone else's fault.
Right.
Whereas it's a little bit like, well, maybe then I need to pick up the phone or show up at the event or party where like I sort of don't feel like it and I'm sort of feeling introverted and antisocial, and like do the work to be like, hey, I don't really feel like asking you, but I'm going to ask you, like, what did you do this weekend? That was fun, you know? And so
that's why the recovery world is a cheat sheet for life in many ways, you know, because you're like forced to build these new relationships.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Anytime you're trying something new, I would say most of us, there's going to be a period of awkwardness.
Yeah.
And what's your tolerance level to walk through it?
Yeah.
To try again, to go back.
Yeah.
And maybe it's as simple as like calling a family member, friend, can you come with me to this?
Yeah.
I really don't want to go alone.
Yeah.
There's certain situations, like I'll sit here and talk to you all day.
Yeah.
And I walk into a room where I don't know anybody and I'm like, just what time can I leave?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think it's a muscle that grows over time.
Right.
And what's more painful, being alone and lonely and sad, or walking through something uncomfortable?
Yeah. Outside of the maze, is there another community that you found that brings you joy? I think I read somewhere or heard somewhere that you're really into Fish.
Yeah.
The band.
Yeah. Maze is a Fish song, so that's where the name of the place came from.
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. Thank you. Okay, I didn't
There's
know
a little
that.
more to the
That's
story.
cool.
Yeah. I'm a Grateful Dead fan. Those two bands in particular, there's a really unique, tight-knit community involved there because it's a very ravenous, kind of obsessive fan base. And even within those communities specifically, there's recovery too. So you can find your niche there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, it's like I've got my friends and family, which I take very seriously. And I've got my recovery, which I still 18 years in, I take very, very seriously. And, you know, it's just the foundation of really every beautiful thing I have in my life.
Yeah.
I've got live music, which it fills my soul. And I'm a very routine person. So like I mentioned, my meditation. So I get up really early, that like hour, I have it about an hour before my wife and my kids wake up.
Yeah.
So I really cherish that time to like just center myself for the day.
Cool.
Yeah.
Justin, thank you so much. I have one final closing question, but your story is a remarkably inspiring story. I mean, the fact that you put yourself on the track to recovery and then nearly 20 years sober have gotten this community space off the ground to create all of these moments for serendipitous, just like connection, and also to give a home to people who just want to have a great time without alcohol is amazing. I guess in closing, I'm curious if you have one thought that you want to leave people with in terms of the word community, which is so used these days by everyone and every business and every brand and every marketer, what you would leave people with.
That's a very good question. I think for me, it often comes back to Grateful Dead in my life. My son's name is Jerry. He's named after Jerry Garcia. It's deep and it's a little crazy, but we'll save that for another conversation. But there's a line, once in a while you get shown the light in the strangest of places if you look at it right. And so I think that resonates on so many different levels. And so it's kind of about perspective and really just being awake to what the possibilities are.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Truly.